The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you curious about how business can be better? I'm Simon Pound, and I host Business is Boring, a podcast where I kōrero with some of the most interesting people in entrepreneurship, commerce, and making things happen. Tune in to Business is Boring every Tuesday, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with Spark Business Lab.
We're back, baby. So exciting.
Back where we belong.
It just feels so good.
Welcome along to The Real Pod. Welcome to Celebrity Treasure Island. None of this watered down fans versus favourites bullshit.
None of these stinky normies, Jane. We don't want them.
No. We just have pure, unadulterated celebrity on the show.
Stars across the board.
And I love it. I love it. My name is Jane Yee. I'm joined by Alex Casey, Duncan in absentia. I can't even tell you why. But you know that just happens sometimes, and that's okay. That's okay.
He just vanishes, and that's okay. So excited to talk about this.
He vanishes like the three sisters and the treasure that was never found. I really got in my head about that. I was like, how many women are on each team? Are we down on numbers on women? Are the three sisters going to be the three intruders that are bound to come because there are
This
only
is what
18
I
sisters?
thought. This is what I thought. We talked about how there's normally 21.
Yeah.
There's only 18 this time. I think you could be right. Have there ever been three sisters, famous sisters in New Zealand
The
history?
Sami sisters?
The top twins and one more?
What about, there's another one. There's another one that I was thinking, well, I mean, there's the Jeffries sisters. That would be great.
Wow,
From
that would be
Shortland Street.
iconic. Tanya back from the
Maya.
dead.
What were they? Maya?
Oh, no, she was the wife.
She was there. Jay was
Maya.
the wife.
Oh, no,
Maya.
Tanya was the sister. Jay was the wife.
Jay was Tanya, Maya, and then the
and
other.
Mum.
No, there was another girl. She was the blondie one. She hooked up with Chris Warner. We're really getting off piste here.
Oh, Libby.
Lily. Maybe
Okay.
it was the Jeffries sisters.
Yes,
It would
that's
be
what it
fucking
is.
amazing.
They should get you on this show, Jane. We keep saying it.
Are there only two Runga sisters, or is there a third? I'm sure there's Pearl, Pearl, and Beck Runga.
I mean, look.
I have four sisters. You know.
Well, that's
Three
too
of
many.
those.
That's
too many.
can't work.
What's going to be funny is when there are no intruders and we've just gone down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. But look, we've shown how much we know, and that's the main thing.
And it's a really good idea for the future if production needs some ideas. Okay?
Where are we going to start with this?
I feel like my notes are all 2 words. Every line is just 2 words, like lady looters.
Okay,
Which is
great.
the
Oh, lady looters. That's like, that could be a new like ice road truckers.
It could. Also a good pub quiz name because I know you're collecting them.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, should we just share our top line thoughts from the first week? I wrote down, I watched this on my own. I was smiling and laughing by myself on the couch. I think it has a really distinct vibe from previous seasons.
Yeah. It's the same show in a different outfit or something. Like there's something about it that's very, very familiar. You know, the music, all the kind of beats that it hits. But then it also feels, there's so many things that feel really different.
Completely. I mean, I think obviously the location does a lot of the work. But it's got such a good, like, goofy, wholesome, funny vibe that I really, really like. I don't know what the temperature is out there in Mojo-less New Zealand, but I feel like maybe we are not in store for lots of drama and tension, and maybe that's kind of a good thing right now. I don't know. We've got the election coming. Like maybe we just pick our battles. But I feel like people like having like Taume Iti there, who's just this incredible force, but also just like insanely cheeky chap.
This guy has absolutely made this first week for me. And just Summer Easy alone, we have a lot to unpack and talk about. I was aware. I was a little different to you. I actually texted you, didn't I, when I was watching the first episode and said, I'm nearly done, Ep 1, and I haven't laughed out loud one time.
I was actually surprised by this. What about like Blair Strang freaking out about the toilets? That was hilarious. Everything Turia Schmidt-Pecker says is, for me, LOL.
Okay. I have an explanation, and I know that I've watched 3 episodes now in total, and I absolutely lolled. It was a grieving. It was it was definitely I think we were funnier than that. Which we definitely weren't in my season. I think it was just having to say goodbye and come to terms with the reality that my season is like just in the trash can now.
Yeah, it's not the one we're talking
It's
about.
not the one we care about anymore.
I mean, look, it's vulnerable of you to share, Jane, and I appreciate it.
But there was also some kind of triggering moments. I saw some parallels in my trajectory with Matilda's. And there was kind of things of like, I don't want to make it all about me. I know now what it feels like to stand in, to have awkward conversations with teammates or stand in the elimination. I don't know what it feels like to have Jordan what's his name is throwing water at you.
Vanderpump.
I don't know. I don't know that. But there's many other moments that I was like, I totally understand why you're crying right now, even though you've only been there for a day. I totally get how tired you are, how hungry you are. I totally get it. And so there was like little triggering moments as well.
Yeah.
Got through the first episode, and then I just was loving it again.
Good. So it's just like you've been through the looking glass, you've seen the other side, and it's harder for you to engage just as a punter.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Jane?
Yes, Tia here.
When you were captain of your team,
Oh, no.
did you remember everybody's name in your team?
Yes. That was a shocker, right?
I felt sick for Matilda. It was so stressful. It was so awkward. The whispering, which is like, I've lost your name.
It is terrible. You know what? Because, again, having been there, you film the promo. You with these people for a few days ahead of going into the game.
Can I share with you some insider info?
Did they film the promo afterwards?
No. Matilda was quite late to the publicity days. I think she must have been cramming in some beauty breaks for the Chemist Warehouse, getting those done before she arrived. And so there had been a solid day or so where she hadn't been there. So I met, and then, you arrive, you have to do your interviews, you have to talk to idiots like me, you have to get your photo taken, all this stuff. So, not a defence. As the captain, you should probably learn everybody's names before the first challenge, but that could go some ways to explaining why.
She also, though, I think, in fairness, she said, I've lost your name. And I bet she did and had used his name prior to that point. But in a moment while the cameras are rolling and she just... Also, he's Damo. She's probably wanting to call him Damo.
It's really confusing. His name is Damo from IT.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, on our season, Katie called Jaden Curtis constantly. Only called him Curtis. And, so I think there may have been some of that Shortland Street effect going on there. So but not cool when you know it's going to be on the television. It's kind of your first challenge as a team, and that was super awkward.
Extremely awkward. I mean, the vibe between the two different teams is really interesting. So we've got Karaerea, which is led by Jordan Vanderpump, who is the world's most serious man. And once I saw him on screen, I started to remember our conversation on the plane down and thinking like, oh, this guy's actually going to be real intense. Like, he is thinking hard. Too hard.
I think he might be the villain.
I suspect you might be right.
I mean, the water throwing thing was such hectic energy. I do think that the edit they gave him that made it look like he was doing that a lot more than, like, I think he was still throwing water in the trough as well, but they just cut it so it looked like all he was doing was throwing water on the opposing team. That was his super bizarre move that no one called him out on in his own team even, which I found weird. But he's so serious to the point of like, bro, like, you got to check how you're going to come across on the television with this, because this is not like the vibe at all.
He vibes like someone who read a lot of books about like leadership before coming to the island and just has like too much going on. That he's like he's jumped the gun, I think, like way too early, coming in hot with all this stuff, and you know, doing that strategic move in the challenge. It's like, we're in the first week, you know, give us some time to just have a bit of fun. And just seeing Tamaiti getting doused in water, I was like, I think this man should go to jail. You know, I think he probably should.
That made me cross. Tamaiti is at once formidable and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
He has just brought such a beautiful energy to his team, which I think has made, like, they're the ragtag bunch of misfits who shouldn't be winning things. And I put it down to, you know, when they're getting their wins, I put it down to Tamaiti bringing just this mana to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's doing haka to intimidate the other team and build up his own team when they're in times of difficulty. He's saying yes to everything, performing karakia. Like, he just, and then just effortlessly folding te reo in everywhere. And it's so, you know, we can talk about the fact that there's so much te reo this week in the show, and it feels they've handled it just beautifully. It just feels like a natural part of it, you know?
Totally. And I think a big part of that is also having, you know, Turia Schmidt-Peke is also fluent, and they are on the same team.
They're just straight up conversing, which is amazing.
And it feels, you know, I know the show has really made a concerted effort, especially in the last few seasons, to, you know, fold in not just te reo, but just te ao Māori in general, you know, acknowledging the iwi and the land. It feels so much more immediate and natural this season. I don't know whether that's because they've like gone to a new place and have made a bit more of an effort. I don't know. But it really feels, again, just one of those quietly groundbreaking things, which is coming out of our primetime show when you've got two teammates on Celebrity Treasure Island having full conversations in te reo with subtitles. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
I think part of it, though, as well, is when, you know, I think previously a lot of the heavy lifting has been done by the hosts in terms of incorporating this stuff. But just the cuts to replies in te reo from, you know, from our Māori cast members and their look of acknowledgement and understanding of what's being said and their appreciation of it feels, it does feel at once unlike anything that we've seen before on this show or anything else. And also just really at home, like it would feel like a very natural fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I love it. I think it just showcases the beauty of the language as well, that, you know, you get all the boomers up and arm, you know, and it's like, how can you argue with this? Like, sit and watch CTI and you can see what this language, like how significant it is and what it, you know, what it can do for us.
Totally. And also that it's sort of like, it just arrives so casually and doesn't come in this crazy, like, revered, signposted way that's like, pat us on the back at how much we're doing. Even, like, the fact that Turia kind of, like, is almost roasting Tamaiti for how much waiata he's doing. Like, in that very first challenge when they were on the wall and she was like, I couldn't leave him hanging, so I just had to start singing.
I know.
Like, you know, it's such a good vibe. I really, really, I particularly love Tohora as a team.
Oh, they're great. I mean, they're definitely the team that I would want to be in right there.
Compared to 0% body fat.
No, I don't think I'd qualify, but I don't think I'd want to be in this place at all. It does seem like a very full-on contrast, as we sort of talked about in the teaser reaction, of beautiful, hot, extremely cold, rainy months, and the wind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you see what I mean about the wheat fields?
Yeah, no, you're right. They do look like wheat. I don't know what they are.
You see how I got confused?
I do see how you got confused.
It's just that things are different in the South Island. Grass is not what you think.
No. I'm really concerned about the wind levels and the number of Topley Tower challenges that we've already had. I mean, the wind affected a building of a puzzle that was vertical.
Oh, you're right.
It affected the Grant's elimination, where he had where they were building a tower, and then there was Mel and Megan's elimination battle, where they were building towers. As someone who's been affected by the most gentle of breezes and building a flimsy tower in an elimination arena, I was just like, this is fucked. Like, there's no way this is fair. the elements are definitely playing a role in who goes and who stays here.
Totally. And when they had to build that big puzzle, one of them had to get up on the table to actually hold the puzzle. It's actually starting to change the entire nature of the challenges.
And essentially, like, as soon as they let go to throw the sandbags at it, it's like the puzzle just toppled anyway.
Yeah.
Because of the wind.
Yeah. And it is, I was going on about the stillness of the lake, but watching this back and also writing my set visit piece, which will be out on the spin-off now, actually. I remembered how choppy that lake is as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a chill kind of, glacial experience. It's got waves. Don't ask me how, because I don't know what a lake is.
It's a contained body of water, right?
Yeah, but like, what is a wave? Is it the moon? Is it the moon?
I think the waves I think lakes traditionally are still if there's no wind around, and if there's wind around, it chops up the water. Like if you were to put a hairdryer on a glass of water, you'd see some action.
You would see some action. Okay, that was Science Corner. I also loved
Come at us, Lucy.
another Tamir moment when he kept harping on about this, which he talked a lot about in his interviews as well, this technique using like a bunch of ferns upside down to put into the middle of the lake and it catches the little crays that get stuck.
This is my favourite. This is where I absolutely hooted out loud in my living room. This was my favourite scene of the whole goddamn thing.
So Laura goes out, and everyone's like, yes, of course, Tamir's, sage wisdom will take out this thing. Laura has a very difficult looking swim in the cold. She looks very puffed and knackered.
Very choppy.
And then Tamir just says something like, he's like, I don't even know if that works. Something like that.
And Laura, I don't even know if she could have heard what he said from where she was, but you could see that she knew what he said, even perhaps just by the body language.
Amazing.
That she'd just absolutely been taken for a ride. And it wasn't like he was trying to set her up. He's just like, oh, yeah, I don't really know. It's something. I heard maybe that it works. I don't know.
I
Let's give it a
really
nudge.
love it. I love it. He's so mischievous. And when he went out foraging for daisies to add to the rice, and everyone's like, I'm good, thanks. It's just
and also
really funny.
we're not allowed to bring almost everything, but we can bring vitamins. So we don't need we don't need your daisy vitamins.
And it's day one as well. And he's like, I'm going to strangle a rabbit. And everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I blinked and then I looked up and he was beating something on. Was that a rabbit?
We did not see. And again, this is like, if you listen to our last Remember When about the very first season of CTI where you see Danny What's-His-Face strangle a chicken on TV, I just don't think we'd see that. That would be kept off cam or blurred out these days.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who
true.
knows what Tamaichi has killed with his hands on the show?
Having just done that recap of that first season, seeing the camps and all the food and the utensils and things that they get given, I'm like, well, this is a life of luxury compared to what it was 4 ago. Well,
sorry. Compared to that
I
thought you were talking about your season. For
I actually wasn't this time. No.
Yeah.
We also had
I'm so used to it.
all these same amenities, but no. It was just it looks like a nice place to stay. It does look like a resort. Beautiful views of the lake.
Totally, especially the is it the Tohora camp that has like a conversation pit lakeside?
I love the
Like it looks
conversation
beautiful.
pit. It's like Love Island.
Yeah.
With the fire pit, recoupling.
And the fire pits are, they're like they've got a gas thingamajig. Like there's no faffing. I myself managed to light a fire at Treasure Island simply by using one of those little fire ladder things.
So it's gas. There's a gas powered thing.
There's a gas powered thing.
I must have told you that on it when we had to light our own fires in Fiji. It's a lot easier because we didn't have the weather to deal with like they did. But they forgot to give us matches, so we're trying to do like 2001 era Treasure Island, rubbing sticks together, creating flint and all that. And then we go past the other team at one point. We're on our way to a challenge, and we're like, they've got their fire going. Oh my God, Art Green's bloody, done some magic trick and got the fire going. And then we're like, oh, did you guys not get your matches? And I'm like, fuck.
Oh my God.
Production straight forgot to give us our matches. And we spent like 30 minutes trying to get a fire going.
Forgot. Sounds like more class warfare to me.
It was
Jane.
class warfare. Anyway, back to the present time.
Can we talk about the first individual challenge where they were balancing on those little sticks coming out of a wall? Because I was there for that. I witnessed that. I witnessed Matilda's divine intervention of her standing on one foot, balanced with arms out, for what felt genuinely like about 20 minutes. And everyone was just sitting around like, what the fuck? Like, she went to another dimension that day. And I feel like, again, probably someone who's a bit not underrated, or, you know, people probably don't think she's got it in her. But this woman, she's like a hypnobirth girl, you know, she does that kind of shit. She can use her mind as a weapon.
And you need that. Mel had it when she went into the elimination arena. She didn't take her eyes off her tower, and she was so calm, and that is so important in the elimination arena. Matilda also has got the benefit of old husbo having been on the show twice. She'll have lots of inside information about how everything works. And she is playing an individual game.
Yeah.
100%.
And I love that. I love seeing that so early from her, and not in quite a matter-of-fact sort of way. Like, she's not apologizing for it. So, and she doesn't seem particularly villainous. She's just sort of like, yeah, and ultimately I want to take out, I can't remember, was it when she wanted to take out
Grant.
Jazz, maybe? She's like, I want to get rid of Jazz because that will get rid of, you know, a competitor for me.
And then if we lose Grant, well, I think he's dispensable, basically.
Who's Grant, you know?
Yeah.
What's his name? Nobody knows.
What's his name? But yeah, I do think it could bite her in the ass, though, because the problem with the way that she's approaching the game and kind of putting people into the ring who weren't expecting it, been there, is it freaks everyone out, and it makes them realise you're not even. Who was it that was saying she's clearly? I think it was Eli. Eli seems very onto, you know, he's very good at figuring people out, and he's like, Matilda is playing an individual game. This is after like one day. He's onto her. So if he builds up a good rapport with people and they realise that she's a real threat in that sense, and that no one is indispensable to her, ultimately, they'll get rid of her.
Yeah, true. God, she's so good as well in the Kumara in a box. That was an amazing performance.
She was amazing at that.
God, I find that so confusing, that challenge. I'm always just like, oh, is it
I
there?
think you get up there as the person asking questions and realise there's nothing that you can say that can, like, what can I ask you? Like asking, have you ever lied in your life? It's like, what's that got to do with the Kumara in the box? You know,
I know. I do think a good tactic, and one that I feel like has been used before, which Matilda embraced, was when you say things that are like slightly rude to kind of just disarm everybody. Like when she talked about the little furry knobs.
Yeah.
It's just kind of this thing that's like, it feels too specific and it feels funny, so everyone gets on board with you. And then she's like, surprise, there were no little furry knobs to be found.
She was very good, but at the same time, I thought the furry knobs was an overstep, because I was like, I don't think they'd provide a slightly turning kumara for this. I don't think they'd provide a sprouting one. I think they'd just, you know, they'd buy one fresh off the shelf that morning.
Maybe they're chitting it. You ever chit? You know about chitting?
What's that? It's half of a chit-chat biscuit.
Go here, you know about chitting?
I think is it when you like splice the kumara, you're trying to grow another kumara?
Yeah,
Blair
yeah.
Strang knows about shitting and he's looking for the toilet.
Blair Strang is real funny on this show.
The treatment they're giving him, the production are having some fun here.
Yeah, he's great. I love his like funny blue glasses. I love how he just hates doing everything, and how he genuinely seemed to think there was like a hotel that they would be going to every night.
This guy is definitely one of those characters I feel like hasn't actually watched the show.
Yeah.
He's just got the call up and went, hey, why not? Has had a very... He's not done any physical prep.
No, God, no.
He's not done any physical prep for the show. They're kind of like really highlighting how breathless he gets and how loud he's breathing in stressful situations. The yoga, I mean, that was full on though.
It was a lot.
Miriam's 1 hour yoga session.
Miriama is another one of those people, watch your frickin' backs. This woman is powerful.
She is.
And also
She is.
intensely funny. When she was making fun of the other team, when they saw each other for the first time, she's like, holy hell, is it Mufti Day? There's just so many good, like, crack-up characters this season, I feel. I think it might be the most crack-up cast ever. Maybe after, you know, previous seasons where they've lost people too early or lost... you know, comedians, they're like, let's just get all the narrators all the time. I mean, Turia Schmidt-Peke, when she was trying to guess who would be on the other team, and she, like, convinced herself that Taika Waititi was going to be there.
And she's just going to spend the whole time auditioning for him.
Yeah, it's just got a really, really good energy to it. It cracks me up.
So we have Matilda is our kaihotu, and we have Jordan on the other team. I think what you're saying about everyone being really funny and fun and it just highlights how out of place Jordan's personality is here. And you can see as he's having his very serious conversations, people like Miriama and Eli are exchanging glances and trying really hard not to crack up, like they're in primary school and the teacher's trying to give a very serious lesson about reproduction or something, and really, really struggling with it. So he's kind of really standing out to me as potential. I had said Steve Price last week. Steve Price just seems like a lovely, lovely man.
He's a honey.
I take that back. I'm
so
sorry.
Cute. I love Steve Price. He's also, and then another thing that's quite different to this season, I guess, is sort of Steve and Jordan are both quite, I don't know, athletic, but there's not a lot of the kind of, the big alpha muscle, Art Green, Jonah Fahu, like ripped workout kind of people.
Yeah.
And I do think that kind of changes the dynamic again when it's like, it becomes much more of a social game.
It becomes more of a social game, and it becomes also looking at, we've seen, I feel like, a much more even spread of talents and things across the two teams in these challenges. They've each won one. With Tama, who took out for his team, he took out the stamping on the plank.
Oh, did you cry at this part?
I cried. I mean, even the other team were crying. Like, it was so beautiful. And then what was just, like, adorable was him basically being like, I really surprised myself, and, him being proud of himself. And it's so funny that this show does this to you, because also Steve Price, I'm sorry, he has been captain of the Warriors. He's been playing league all his life. He is a natural-born leader who is allowing, I mean, I'm not saying he's like doing her a favor or anything, but he's like not once kind of made the noises about like I should be leader or anything like that I was predicting. And then he just uses his brute strength to hold this trough of water up. He wins it. He could do it all day. Totally looked like he could do it all day.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's just like, I'm just so proud I was able to do that for my team. Like, you're 2 days into the island. You have achieved all this shit in your life. And this is what this game does to you. It takes this silly little game and turns it into something so important to you in that moment. Like, I felt like he had just taken the Warriors for their first ever NRL victory in that moment. And he was just like, I'm just so happy to be able to do this for this group of people who've worked so hard since we all met 2 days ago.
It's also nice to see people crying because they're happy.
Yeah.
That's not, I feel like we don't necessarily see that so early on the show as well. Like, and even reflecting on the Super Teas, that actually some of those tears that we saw were happy tears.
Yes.
We just didn't know.
Matilda's tears were happy tears.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't even talked about James Masterpick, our friend in the villa. I mean, he gets a little bit stressed and has a little cry when his name's sort of getting thrown around for the elimination challenge, because Matilda's got it in her head that he's good at puzzles for some reason. This is what happens.
If you are not muscular, you are good at puzzles. If you are not the person who can do all the physical stuff, you are good at puzzles. That's just how people make the divide.
Yeah.
There's the athletes and the puzzlers.
I know, I felt for James, but James has also had an incredible first week. I mean, when he's I forget his direct quotes, but he's just sort of calling everyone like, you're a little bitch. Like,
he's swearing
I want to be a
lot.
little shit,
Yeah. He's swearing a lot. I love him. I love him and Tama going off for, a little wander. And Tama's like reflecting on his hair. I like his hair.
That's right.
I think that if we can develop this unlikely friendship between these two, because just visually it's fantastic to see them walking along beside each other, but just in terms of their personality, everything about them and where they've come from is so different.
Exactly.
And we love seeing these unlikely friendships on the show.
Well, to quote Duncan Grieve, this is New Zealand. Like, this is our utopia, is putting all these people together and being like, here's actually who we are, We could be very different, but we're all on a treasure hunt of life.
We've got some very valuable narrators in this season. James
Yes.
is one of them. Toria, as you've pointed out, is fantastic. Courtney.
Courtney's hats. Can we talk about her, like, lime green kind of Billy Porter tasseled sombrero? I think she looks incredible.
Yeah.
I love her. I mean, she was the one who said, I think, in her first interview,
She brought 8 hats with her.
she's not prepared for anything apart from the attire.
Yeah. And who else was a really good narrator?
Narita.
I know, I don't understand, yeah. It's rolling. I was
bit
getting
of
my,
te reo
my,
in
like, my Southland R's for today. Yeah.
Well, we've got Laura Daniel as well,
Laura,
who's had some great moments.
There's one other key one. Did we say Eli?
Oh, we haven't said Eli yet. And Eli is also bringing a little bit of fans versus faves energy, in that he's sort of like, he's doing it like you see on TV, and this is happening like it is on TV, which is always great. You know, he's one of us.
He's watched the show, is what we get from there, which is great. It's always helpful. It can help him go far.
There was a weird thing that just back to Blair Strang briefly. In the end of that trough challenge, where it was Nick Afor and Steve Price holding those troughs, and Blair Strang was like, it was amazing. It was like watching Black Adam versus Superman.
Wait, what was that?
Huh?
What's Black Adam?
Black Adam is like, it's just not what you would say in that moment. Black Adam was this weird, was it Marvel that came out?
It was a DC movie that The Rock made.
The Rock was Black Adam.
It wasn't critically well received, and the series that was planned was cancelled almost as soon as it came out.
So are we asking why he used Black Adam versus almost any other superhero?
The natural one is obviously Batman versus Superman. Like, that's just right there. And again, just Blair Strang being a freaking weirdo. And I love it.
Blair Strang is really deep into the superhero universe, where he knows things about Black Adam that we don't know, that he is like connecting with Nick.
Yeah, he's shading Nick.
Like
he's shading Nick.
Maybe he's a super fan of, maybe that's stuff we yet to learn. Blair Strang has not been in our public consciousness for a long time, so we've much to learn about him.
This is true. And he was kind of right, because Nick was a flop in that challenge, just like Black Adam. Steve romped home.
Steve absolutely owned that. I'm loving the thing with Tame. I feel like we're starting to see something they've done successfully in the last couple of seasons, and they need to continue, is have this iconic character who brings something really completely different to the game. We've had it with Susan Devoy twice in a row. She's no way anything like Tamaiti, but she is an iconic character who brought something to the game that had been unknown. And then this is a very different version of that. But I think it works really, really well, because it kind of makes everyone else in there check themselves. Like there's just a different energy that it brings rather than just a whole bunch of kind of mostly contemporaries.
Totally. Yeah, and I honestly think a big part of that is age as well, like getting people who are older. And Tame in particular brings this like incredible, like genuine, true icon status, but also just a total like irreverence, Yeah. So it's like balancing two things all the time. That everyone's like, I can't believe he's on my team, but also he's sort of like trolling them and making them go out and put
very
ferns
similar to what's and executed in a completely different way. But that's what Susan Devoy brought as well, because she doesn't care.
Exactly.
They don't sort of care about what anyone's going to think of them out the back of this. They really do bring their true selves. They have some fun with it. They play with it.
Yeah, it's just great. So who have we lost? So we lost Grant first.
Yeah, that was really sad, because I was scared that he was going to be the villain when he talked about being an awkward guy. You assume actors are all very gregarious and chatty, and he's like, I'm actually a very awkward person. My biggest fear coming here was going to be those first few days, getting to know people. And I know I'll be fine. I'll come out of my shell ultimately, but I just need to get through this first few days, which was just very sad words in retrospect.
I really felt for him. Like, I feel like good on him for actually talking about that stuff and like kind of leaning into it, because anyone who kind of suffers from social anxiety or feels awkward in groups is like, it's quite an embarrassing thing to admit. Like, it feels very vulnerable to talk about that sort of stuff that you might not be as socially adept as all the other celebrities when you're also a celebrity. So I really respected him for both talking about that and the show for putting it in, because it's one of those like just totally different perspectives and experiences that you don't normally see from anybody, really.
And one of those things that is beautiful that comes out of this show, that like we actually think about afterwards and talk about afterwards, even though Grant is the first person to go home, like he's still made a little impact here.
Yeah.
I knew Grant sort of a little bit many years ago when he was starting out with Reece Darby, and they were they both were doing coming up in comedy at the same time. Their careers have gone in two different places, but he's a really funny guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is exceptionally funny. He can hold a room. He can hold a stage. And I feel really disappointed that I know, like he said, he's aware that he would have come to that point once he felt a bit more comfortable. It's a shame he sensed, I think, that people weren't really giving him the opportunity to get there as well. They're just sort of assuming he wanted to be left alone when clearly he was never going to be the person to push himself into the chat. But
Yeah.
he would have loved to have been invited. I think Matilda forgetting his name probably didn't help. And then you've got this typical, beautiful, successful blonde woman who's the leader of your team. Oh, no, she's a bit brunette at the moment,
Brunette
actually,
now,
in the show, who's the team captain, forgetting your name. And it just feels like late 90s teen high school, you know? Like,
Oh, and if you're like an awkward person
rom-coms.
who lives
Yeah.
as a social outcast, that happening is like your worst nightmare. You know, that confirms everything you've ever thought about yourself and all your doubts and everything. I'm like
Yeah.
amazed he even held it together after that. I would have been walking into the lake.
So I feel like there was kind of like actually quite a significant elimination. I was annoyed. Who was he up against? Jazz. I was annoyed at how much Jazz featured in the Super Teas because as soon as those two walked into the elimination, I was like, well, Grant's going home because I know there's heaps of scenes of
You've
Jazz
got to
that I
see
haven't
more
seen
of
yet.
Jazz. We did get, well, I don't know if we saw much more in the Super Teas that wasn't in the first week. Like she's already had a medical event during that. Was it during the trough challenge? She sort of collapsed and needed air and a blanket, which was quite stressful. And her quote about
Grant's
the TikTokers.
gone by then, though. Grant's already gone by then. So she hadn't had the medical event. When he
Oh,
went
true.
home.
Oh, yeah, he was the first, of course. And then there was, I'm sad to lose Megan Alatini,
She
I
was
gotta say.
I know. She was proving to be like a good commentator as well.
Yeah, she was awesome. When she was talked about, like, she ate a deer's penis, I was like, this woman needs to stick on this show for as long as possible.
She ate an eyeball, and I'm like, we know someone else who ate an eyeball quite recently, and that man's a legend. So, you know, it immediately elevated her.
That's what you have to do in our
yeah.
books.
Yeah. No, it was... We won't, but you have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was, it's those sort of like gone too soons. And I think we do this every season. We lament what we didn't get from those people. And then by the end of the show, we've forgotten that they were ever even on it.
Totally. And it always feels like it happens so fast.
It
you know, like you're like,
does.
oh, I'm just getting to know her.
Yeah.
And she's gone.
And I feel bad for their experience. Like, it's just not enough time on the island. You know, it's just not.
Yeah, it's true. Mel got a special clue, maybe our first clue towards the whereabouts of Pearl, Bow, and Bick. Crimson, I am born. Yellow, I dance. Ebony, I die.
I don't know what that means.
Is it wheat? Is it some kind of flower? It's got to be something natural, surely.
What's born crimson?
Me?
Is it the sun? Is it comes
Ebony, I
up red
die.
sunlight, sunrise in the morning? I mean, it's probably not. Probably not, but that's the closest I can think of whilst on the spot right this second.
It's just exciting. The hunt is underway already, you know.
The hunt
It's all
is
happening.
underway.
And we know that there's this crazy scroll coming. Blair Strang is going to play a crazy scroll at
that
some
we've
point.
never had before. It's probably like the key to the crew toilet, or
And he'll be so happy.
you get a night in a hotel, Blair.
Pull up Black Adam on the iPad. He'll be in there for hours.
Oh, so much good stuff. So great to be back. We're seeing alliances, Courtney and, so not Courtney and Jazz. No, there was Courtney and Jazz and Eli. Eli and Courtney. And then, no, Eli and Jazz. And then bringing Courtney. I'm already confused.
And then Jazz and Courtney with the mind to bring them together. Jazz
Bring
and
them
Courtney's
together.
alliance discussion was very strange.
It was very strange. And then it sounds like,
awkward.
it looks like in the teaser they're going to bring James in as well. So it's going to just turn into a classic huge
Comedians.
alliance that's basically most of your team. But, oh no, they're on other teams.
They're on
No,
other
what-
teams.
Oh, who's
They're going
James?
cross.
Oh, they're crossing.
I think it looks like at a challenge or something James and Laura chat to.
Yes. They're gonna cross.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah. And that's kind of, is that it for alliances? There's some, again, Eli's thinking about Jordan and Matt, you know, and some of Jordan's strategic gameplay.
Oh, yes, because they have the long-lasting Studio 2 alliance.
Yeah. When there was the captain's coup, which is something we haven't seen before, very, very early on, that Matilda one, that was the Kumara in a box. But Jordan put up Matt as, potentially taking out the captaincy in this challenge that could advantage him. And that was something that Eli picked up on. So I think keep a close eye on Eli because he's keeping a close eye on everyone's strategy.
Totally. And also a close eye on Matt Gibb, because as we saw in that challenge versus Matilda, he was like really not wanting to give up. He really wants to do things in this game.
I really like Matt Gibb.
Me too.
I think that this show has the potential to do real favours for him in terms of like public perception. As a forgotten, should have been bigger than he was.
Forgot,
but also,
never forgot. I never forgot.
Never forgot. You're of the age. I never forgot because I'm of his age.
Right.
You're of an age where he was like someone you looked up to. I'm of an age where I was like, you're his age.
My biggest fear that was not something we've entertained yet is what if Matt Gibb is the villain? We haven't seen any flickers of it, but it's just like that would be an incredible turn.
That would be awful. I mean, we mentioned it before that we've been told that we'll be shocked by who it is based on our assessment of the cast announcement. But we did say Jordan was a really nice guy and all of that. So it still has the potential to be him and for us to have been shocked in that way. If it's Mick, and then Grant Lobbin as well was another one that like we said was like that. I was worried. So I'm basically worried about all these people that I'm like, such a great guy. And then we're shocked.
It's like the Traitors.
It is like the Traitors.
The Traitors never left. I mean, Matt Gibb sliced his fingers open for the challenge when there was blood pouring down his arm. I was like,
it's not going to be Matt Gibb. It's just he's not going to be the villain. It's got to be Jordan. Because I think that people are going to get sick of his seriousness, and he's going to feel upset that he's not being taken seriously when he's taking himself so very seriously and he's taking the game seriously and teamwork. He might find out about a cross-team alliance and just feel like that's like treason.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for him to spark off.
And I do think, although we haven't seen it yet, Tohoro was so pissed off in that challenge. You could see when Tamir was like doing his haka towards them, Laura Daniel was like kicking off in the background. You could tell she was so pissed off at Jordan for pouring water on them. Like, I'm sure all of that will bubble up. And now I'm even thinking in the Super Teas, when Eli says something like, we don't have to like him today, that could be about Jordan. That could be a mutiny. It could be the captain's coup. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. It's got to be Jordan. That was I felt disrespectful, what he did in that challenge.
It was just weird. Like,
it was weird energy.
It was too intense and it wasn't funny or anything. Like it wasn't even tongue-in-cheek. When they splash each other, when they do the boat stuff and you're like, banter. That was not banter. It was psycho.
It's too early in the game to to renegade on your own without consultation with your team, making the other team lose in order for you to win. I know that sounds like how things should work, but he wasn't going for the win. He was going for their downfall.
Yeah.
And I just think it's way too early in the game when you're so far from the treasure to be making like such ballsy moves like that.
And it didn't even work, Yeah,
I mean, it is raining, mate. You're just pouring water on them.
And they have Steve Price. Think about it. The one thing we haven't talked about as well is the charity challenges, which actually surprised me that I loved them as well this week. I just thought they were good fun. It's good to see the sheep herding challenge we've seen before. Was this one that you did?
No, the other team did. It was on my season though.
And hilarious because of the pairings, yes. and again, because of these funny dynamics where you've got like Turia being like, I'm not going to knock over Tamaiti, and then he immediately just shoulder barges her over. And then you've got the finale, which was between Steve Price and James Mustafic. It's just chaos. And I was like, respect to James, man.
And quite the setup with the sheep, in terms of the set. And then the other team have like their whole entire set is 6 pieces of penne pasta and 1 piece of spaghetti.
That's right. Like, we blew all the budget on yoga balls. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was funny too. That's also the kind of thing you can do at home, which is useful.
Is the kind. I know. I mean, I immediately thought like, do I have the ingredients for me and Alex to be able to do? Like, what's the chances that both of us have the ingredients to be able to do this on the pod today? And then No, I don't have penne pasta at home.
No,
so
I've
I
only
didn't- I
got
didn't go any
orzo.
further.
It's not going to work. But we got
No,
some funny body rolls from Nicafor. And
Yeah, that was cool. And it was cool in the moment when he was like, why do they keep saying that? And he was like, all I was doing is like, oh yeah, okay, I can see it now. He seems lovely.
he does seem lovely. I still have a question mark.
Yeah,
know?
okay.
I don't know, just because there was that quote from him in the Super Tease where he says, I can't remember.
Come
but
at
he
me
says,
or something.
He says something villainous.
Yeah.
And again, he's sort of one of those people that maybe has less established relationships with everybody and perhaps less to lose in terms of like he's
True.
not the most famous person in the cast.
But he
and-
also doesn't really need to be for what he does either.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
He's
his
just-
success doesn't ride on a massive sort of public following.
He's Simba, you know. He's
He's-
Simba.
like you
Simba
don't get
forever.
much more famous than that, right?
Apart from
He's
Black
got it
Adam, but
sorted.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'm so looking forward to seeing Blair Strang's journey on this show. I really am. It's one of those like little secret undercurrents that's probably not like the main storyline for me, but is very much one I'm keeping a close eye on and enjoying.
Yeah, and just funny to look at him, you know, just in the group, just in the background being so baffled and kind of like annoyed.
I just look at him and go, you dated your sister.
Yeah.
You know? That's really hard to get past.
That's true. God,
Yeah. Not just to be clear for anyone who's not aware, not in real life, on Shortland Street.
that's true. That's
Bungy and Donna.
good clarification.
And I think that was half. Well, I don't know. if
Wasn't it
makes
fine
any
in the
better.
end? I think it was fine. They got married and it was all good.
All good. All good. One other thing I want to note before we wrap up is the elimination arena seems much more pared back than we've seen before. It's not in one location. We've seen the elimination arena in two different locations. So very much a movable bleacher type thing. It might
True,
be.
yes.
I'm not sure why that is. A weather thing. I'm not sure. But you don't have like the fire going. You know, it just doesn't seem quite as
Fire
big.
hazard.
It's true. All
It's
that weight.
middle of summer and all that weight. You can't be lighting a single flame.
That's true.
That was something they were very, very like.
Well, that's
nervous
why they
about
would have had
fire.
the gas-powered fire thing,
Yeah.
right?
And
To
we had like a
control it.
strict briefing about it and stuff because it was like, yeah, the whole place had got like a tinderbox.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Oh,
you
touch
imagine?
wood. Goodness sake.
Touch it, but not with a flame. Whatever you do, that would be dry as anything. But also they're doing the elimination challenges during the day, or it's daylight. Well, it's like light till I don't know midnight in the South Island over summer or something. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it would have been actually. It was probably light until about 9, after 9.
Yeah.
So they can get
So we don't have
everything
that same
done.
gravity of it being nighttime. But still a
True.
great show. I'm not comparing to my season on the beautiful tropical island of Fiji. I'm just saying it's still a very great show. It's different. And I'm learning to let go.
Yeah.
Of course I jest. I'm fucking loving just watching it and not having to watch myself on it. Like it's so good just to be back.
Yeah, it's great. I'm sad I'm going to be away for the next few weeks. Are you going to replace me?
I don't know yet.
I'm
It's hard
worried.
to talk about. I mean, if Duncan is a no-show, I don't know what's going to happen.
I wonder if James would come on. Cast James.
I feel like we can probably we might have a few special guests over the next few weeks. I feel
What's
like
Grant
that's something
Lobbin
we
up
can
to?
do. Not much. Not much. I mean, he can't give any spoilers, can he?
No, true. He's as in the
God.
dark as all of us.
Oh, God.
Exciting.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing to our Substack. We have to actually, it's going to be weird because you will hear Alex's voice on some Remember Whens over the coming weeks. But Alex is, for this more topical and timely side of the Real Pod that we do record fresh for you every week, Alex is leaving us.
Only for a
Yeah.
bit. I'll be back before the end of the season. So
4 weeks?
my plan is to not listen to or watch anything and then arrive back cold and just see where we're at. And I'm so excited.
Oh my God. And you're
4
just gonna
weeks from now.
Are you going to
knows?
mainline it? Or are you just like
I
when
think-
you get back?
I don't know.
Or you're
Look,
just
I
gonna
say
come
this
and-
now. It'll be impossible for me to resist. I'll
That'd be
probably
really
listen to the
hard.
pod. But I'll be geo-blogged. I'm going abroad. I'm going abroad, for God's sake.
We have ways, Alex. We have ways and means.
Mm.
You know, you're still the heart and soul of the Real Pod.
It's very kind.
That means
We'll
you get to
figure
watch
something
these
out.
things. We'll figure something out. We'll project it into space. We just need the Black Adam. No, he's not the one who produced into space. Actually, Batman, isn't it?
Superman?
So now I'm getting confused. Well, but Batman's got the bat signal. We got to wrap this up. It's ridiculous.
Get
This
out
is the
of
longest
here.
outro ever. Thank you very much, Alex. We will miss you. We will do our best to keep the ship afloat, and we look forward to your return and just have the most amazing, amazing, amazing time away. Well deserved.
Thank you, Jane, and enjoy Treasure Island.
Thank you. I will do. Thank you, T.I. here. Thank you, Corns. We love you. From the Spin-Off Podcast Network, you've been listening to The Real Pod. Hosted by me, Jane Yee, along with Alex Casey and, most of the time, Duncan Grieve. Our producers are T.I. Head Butler and Samuel Robinson. Thanks for listening.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBet.
Kia ora, I'm Duncan Grieve, founder of The Spin-Off. You can help us keep all of The Spin-Off's award-winning journalism free for everybody by becoming a member today at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.